Hello, welcome everyone to today's podcast, The Engineer Whisperer. Super excited to be here again. We have a super sunny day over here in the Seattle, seems like the same where you are. So let me welcome you in. Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Yes. Thanks, Andre. Appreciate it.
So good to have you here. And before we start, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Um, hey, my name is Eric Webb. Um, Longtime engineer, engineering leader. Managed a lot of teams, worked at a lot of startups. A lot of them didn't go anywhere, but learned a lot of things on the way. And I think kind of what got me here was just the potential of software and automation. I used to program graphing calculators back in junior high and high school to make my homework assignments easier. And I've kind of just been doing that since for companies and products and things along the way.
Oh, so briefly, you make life easier for companies, for people, for other engineers. Well,
Try to, yeah.
well, I can't wait to unpack that one. But let me tell you all why I invited Eric here. So I connected with him on LinkedIn and kind of browsed his posts, and you wrote, well, you had a quote up and then you wrote about it that really spoke to me. I have my own stories, but I'm so curious of what your story is behind this quote. So let me quote the quote. A bad system will beat a good person every time. So, Eric, where did you find this quote and what does this mean to you?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Actually, a friend introduced that quote to me after we'd worked together for some time, and I kind of shared with her my management style and management philosophy, and it's something that she showed me, and I it just kind of clicked, and it just kind of reinforced why I got into management. Why not an individual contributor? Why not writing code? Um, but then just also like reinforced all these other really important parts of management to me around kind of diversity and systemic approaches to problem solving, repeatable paths to problem solving, and and it just captures all of that into one like pretty dense line there, which you led me to reading more about the author of that quote, and yeah, it just kind of kept telling the story I wanted to tell, and so yeah, I knew it was something to put on the LinkedIn's.
So, give me a little bit more context. Was this at the
Yeah.
beginning of your leadership as you entered management as an engineering leader, or you've been in management for a few years? Were you struggling with something?
Yeah, yeah, no, much later actually in my career, within the last few years. Um, um, and I think part of that's because uh, my my philosophy of management, or my why to managing, is just like constantly evolving and growing. I think if you were to talk to some of the early people I managed, my approach and my style might have left them wanting for a little bit more. And I think
That's
as I
great
get,
self-awareness.
yeah,
So, it
yes.
sounds like that's a bad thing, but let me just pause for a minute. You're admitting that you're growing and you're aware of it. So,
Trying to be, and they still talk to me, so I didn't micromanage them to death. I think
there you
that
go.
that transition from an individual contributor to a manager, especially in engineering, I think is just really hard. But that's another topic. And as I got like older and older, essentially older and more experienced, I realized more and more that it's not about me, it's about the person and the team, which is a collection of people. Um, it also became more and more aware to me that like I cannot be the one that makes this team work, this group work and jive and hum and continue to like make good stuff happens. Um, Similarly, that one really great rock star engineer can't be the one person that's holding the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it just led me to this realization that my whole job, and not to like take away my contribution or any individual's contribution, is really to make the whole thing not depend on me or them, or this thing. It really is to create this system, to accomplish creating the software, to do what the business needs to do, whatever that might be. It really is about creating that system that continues to add value consistently, um,
Give us an
without, yeah,
example, because one might be listening and thinking, well, what does that mean?
one example might be, the rock star engineer. You have this software team, and they put out so much great software, and you kind of pull the curtain to the side and you look in there, and it's really this one person, this one 10x engineer who's which I don't like that term, by the way, but this one engineer is just knocking all this stuff out, and just being really productive and really effective. It's great. What's the problem with that? Um, well, there's just a lot of risk there, right? What if that person finds another job? What if that person gets hit by a bus, right? The bus factor of your team.
Yep.
Um, um, you're just so vulnerable, to this one person. And separate from these morbid things about getting hit by buses or leaving companies, like they're just having a bad day. Somebody gets sick in the family. um, um, it's just, as a manager, like if my job is to just ensure this kind of consistency, it's just a huge risk. And so I'd much rather have groups of people that are able to kind of collectively put out, good work, in a more consistent way. I think another like lens I think about is like a quality assurance like person, right? So you got this person, they do a great job. They're like the last line of defense in your software team, just to make sure there's no bugs or there's no
Yes.
like anything going on. And this person works so hard. And they catch so many things all the time. And that one day something gets let through, right? Just they missed a thing, it got out there, it's in front of a customer,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's like, WTF, what are you doing? What are they doing? Like, what's what's the conclusion, right? What's the takeaway there? Is it, oh man, that person just really messed up and they just need to try harder? Um, no, no, not really. We need to hire another person that tries harder, that we need to replace them. Like, no, no, not really. We really need to um, embed this checking like at multiple layers, right? Like quality through, there's like security through layers, there's like quality through layers and defense, and so those are just kind of like two like kind of different, but really kind of point to the same thing to me, which is just like any system that relies on an individual will almost certainly fail, because we are all fallible. We all have bad days and good days.
Yes.
And so that's the angle of like augmenting the individual, but there's like a whole other angle where it's like the bad systems will beat the good people. And that's a whole other side of this narrative, right?
Yes. But I'm happy that you bring it up, because that just gives us this view of, well, a multiple, this you mentioned about dual, so dual view.
Hmm.
I'm a bin third options. So as long as somebody's open to already looking, oh, there's this view that could happen and this view, then it's more likely that someone is open for a third view, for a third option of, well, what else is possible here? Because some problems, situations are more complex than others. So just saying that there's one issue and then there's one solution might be, again, a big risk, and you won't mitigate it that way, won't solve it.
Mhm.
So I love how you're bringing it up that you have to look at the individual, the team structure, the system. So let me take it this way. As you've been working with this framework and with this and being in this mindset, what else have you discovered onboarded them to this mindset and concept?
Yeah. Recently, I've also been kind of thinking about management as like a puzzle, like a Tetris, like fitting puzzle, right? Like
Okay.
you have the business, right? It's trying to accomplish something, it's trying to make money a certain way, create a certain problem, whatever. And
Mhm.
then you have all these individuals that you've hired, and they have very specific shapes and very specific needs and very specific desires and abilities and skill sets. And how do you kind of fit all these people pieces together to kind of fill the hole that the business thinks it has, right? And that's, I think, just super hard and like fun and rewarding. And like obviously people aren't, you know, units. They're not they're not puzzle pieces, but it really kind of leads to this approach, which is like the system needs to prove its value to the individuals as well, right? Like, the system doesn't exist just for the business. Like this, the system needs to like um, give something back to the individuals who's participating in it, right? Like there's a lot of bad systems that don't benefit the people, which there's plenty of examples through history. But the system should like, have the person's back. The system should make them feel more powerful, more effective. And so like for me, getting people on board on this approach is really just like the proof is in the pudding. Like we need to do the process together. The system is a living, breathing, adaptable thing. Really adopting this iterative learning process that
Okay.
everybody's able to participate in is just like so critical to this approach. There's parallels to like Agile and Scrum and all these kinds of things. It's like the process has to be alive, the process has to be human, the process has to listen to the people living it and doing it day to day. Um, and Sometimes it can take a little bit of time, but um, in my experience, you get there, right? Like that that gets caught. That reflecting after 3 or 6 months, being like, oh, hey, actually, my life is like better than it was 6 months ago. My work life was better than it was 6 months ago because we did, all these little changes that accumulated into something bigger. So like I have experience like, bringing like agile process and scrum processes to like early stage startups, and just like they're just kind of like, oh, actually, you know what, this actually feels better than it did before. So it's like it's really easy to to get kind of distracted by this idea that you're going to kind of come in and just like, like re-platform everybody on and yeah, just
Change
blow
the.
it up and just
Mhm.
you're going to do this whole new thing. And I just like, I don't, it's just, that's not my approach. It's small, it's iterative, it's incremental. You get clear on what you're trying to achieve and why. You get that buy-in and you just iterate. week in and week out, sprint after sprint, whatever that looks like.
And it sounds like that you're a person who comes in not to blow out things, but to be curious. That's what it sounds to me. That you come in and like, okay, well, where are you? Right? To someone
Yeah.
instead of re-leveling or upgrading a person and their skills, like, well, let me just find out where actually you are. And then let me find out where everybody else on the team is. Because I have a sense that that will give you a good awareness of is the system work the current system that you're stepping in if you are coming in new, is it working, where are the gaps, what's missing, and who's contributing, who's not, who's who's not trusting the system, who
Yeah.
has work relationship issues. So I can see that you come in very calmly and very curiously, and at the same time very like focused on the leadership that you said. I'm here for to include everyone, and you're vocal about it. Is that a fair sense?
Think so. I think so. I think to continue the learning of my journey, I think as a younger engineer, as a younger manager, you come in and you're just kind of like, WTF, like why are we doing this? What is going on? These like the decisions that led us here seem so silly and dumb, and why would anyone do this? And da 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 da. And like doing it more, you realize, well, these decisions, like this reality is the culmination of a bunch of little decisions that like made sense in the time and the context in which they were made. And um, so just this like reverence and appreciation that like, well, they were actually like intelligent, thoughtful people that kind of contributed to where we are now, even if that like doesn't totally work out. Um, and Look, my approach is always to try to make it fit, if I can. And I think there's a lot of ways to move these needs and constraints and things, but sometimes you can't, and that's an important part of it too, which is just like, hey, we really need someone that does this. Like, is that something you're interested in? Is it not? Or you might have like, performance or behavioral things that you can't work through. So, that's not to say everything is always fittable. But yeah, I think being curious, understanding the people and the why of the business and the why of the individuals just gives me all the like pieces I tend to want to like, yeah, figure out this like matching game.
What comes to my mind is that you probably had a journey before. I mean, your journey led you to believe this, to have this mindset. So take us back. What is your origin story? Where did engineering even show up for you in your life? Did you know that you're going to be an engineer and
Mhm.
talk about
Yeah,
these things in the future?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. I have this whole I didn't think about college. Um, I didn't like take, the SATs and the standardized tests and all of these like processes we have here in the United States on how we get into college like very seriously. Um, um, as I kind of mentioned, I was programming graphing calculators, and I kind of really liked it. And I had some like early tutorials on the like web 1, web 0.5 dial-up modem kind of thing. And I was like, I'm really curious about this. I really like this. Um, and that's what just led me to picking software engineering as my degree. Um, And then in college, I remember having this very specific class. It was like Java server pages, JSPs, which some of your audience may or may not be familiar with. But it was this first time where you could, where I could write something and have it interact with input, but then be in front of people, right? Be on the internet. And
Okay.
like
Uh-huh.
that just like hooked me. And so once I had that class, I was just like, okay, I know I need to do um web applications, internet, that's all.
So let me double click on that. Did you like
Yeah.
the part that you saw the customer side, as you said that that it was in front of everyone, that you got a response from others in the class and
Yeah.
the professor?
Yeah, just uh yeah, like I said, like I wrote these like TI graphing calculator equation solvers, and like that was just for me.
Yeah.
But the other thing I did was, yeah, I wrote these like programming tutorials, and they were like Word documents that you just like put on the internet, and like, the internet's like just was fundamentally about interacting with other people, and finding your cohort, finding other like-minded people, um, and yeah, something about Java server pages just like up that to a whole other level. Like it was less about me just like putting kind of static stuff out there. It was like, oh, I can like take your input and do something good with it and spit it back out there. Yeah, it was fundamentally um that it would be like public and viewable to me, which was really the value prop, which is most of the reason why I'm in like, my teams are full stack kind of product engineering teams. You know what I mean? I always have like front end teams, graphical teams, component teams, usually much less often like back
The
end,
backend. Mm-hmm.
really like user facing, B2C stuff is like really where the like excitement is, because there's nothing like getting to interact with your customer, and hearing what they have to say about the system you wrote. So yeah, I think that got instilled in me pretty early on, and then yeah, I've just kind of kept doing it since.
It sounds to me that you got a taste of the impact that you could create, of how impactful you as an individual are. It's almost like a validation of, okay, I can do this for myself, right? I can do the coding and the calculator for myself and help
Mhm.
myself. And then if I do it this way, I can help so many more people. I can create something that helps others, and then they then go out and help others. So
Yeah.
this is something that I find, I mean, fascinating while working with engineers. It's this spirit of a very purpose oriented. Maybe it's not as conscious as I'm saying it right now, uh, but this is what I believe, that
Yeah.
engineers change. Engineers are the biggest workforce, um, who collectively create the biggest impact in our world. And you just said it yourself. So so then you got on this path, and as from my experience, just getting on the path is great, but then the challenges show up. There's challenges that you just never know they're there until you step on the path.
Mhm.
So what was something, maybe your earliest challenges that you had to face as an engineer?
Yeah. Um, one of the things, when an early manager kind of taught me was, Um, naming's hard. It's one of these like, silly um, anecdotes in the software world, like naming something in a program or in a piece of code is just so hard because the code outlives the concept of the name. I always thought that was like super super interesting, and it really just continues to be true. Naming's hard, caching's hard. Um, but yeah, I got into management pretty early, and like I said, it was pretty bumpy. Um, and for me personally, it was just this like feeling of like as an individual contributor, you control it, whatever it is, right? You're writing the code, you have the idea of how to solve this problem. You know yourself, you know how you are effective as an individual. Just do it. And then you do this interesting thing in management where you're like, okay, here, you do this thing. And you watch and you see what happens. And um and for me at least, it was like very hard to let other people find their own path in solving that problem, whatever it is. Like I said, in the early days, I would be frustrated. I felt like I tended to micromanage and direct and be like, solve it this way, solve it this way, solve it this way. And it got really exhausting for me. I'm sure it also got exhausting for the engineers I'm talking to. Um, and it actually prohibits you from doing the one thing that's like the most important part of managing, which is scaling, right? Um, um, and somebody told me this like framework or this like rubric or this gauge, I guess, which would be like, hey, if they can do it 70% as well as you think you can do it, that's good. Because two people doing something 70% as well as you can do it is still better than you doing it. Um, and then that was like one kind of unlock for me.
Nice.
Um,
Yes, yes. I love
yeah,
it. I love it.
yeah. And I think the other one was like this realization that the way I have been successful, is not the way you're going to be successful.
Mhm.
Um, and then just understanding that and appreciating that, I think was kind of the other kind of unlock for me, which led me to much more of this like curious observer persona, which you caught wind of, versus the earlier engineering manager versions of Eric. So um, um, and then later in the career, it's just like, well, how do you get your boss to think you're doing a good job? What's the managing up part of engineering leadership? Like, how do you keep yourself accountable to your CEO or your peers or your board? And to be honest, still working on that one. So yeah, yeah, it's the journey, not the destination. It's the people. It's the day to day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's helped me a lot, I think. Uh, and I get good feedback, fortunately, but always learning, always trying to do it um, better and more effectively.
Well, Eric, as we're getting to the end of the podcast, I invite my guests to close us out. So today, what would you like to leave us with? A takeaway, idea, framework, tool, something that comes to your mind.
Yeah, yeah. I guess maybe I would direct this to kind of early engineering managers or engineering manager curious people in your audience, and just say keep at it, um, understand the real gem is the people, um, and the context in which you create for them to thrive, be that a system, be that curiosity, be that um, care, or listening. Um, you have really an outsized impact on these individuals as well as the companies you work for. So keep at it and good luck because it's not always easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sitting down and talking with me today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.